And a good Thursday to you, Central Georgia. Thanks for tuning in here for a look at your extended forecast. Creeping closer and closer to the beginning of that Memorial Day weekend. Maybe it's already the start of your Memorial Day weekend. You elected to take Thursday and Friday off of work, but also that in combination with many graduations that are occurring throughout today and into tomorrow, and just the general summertime fun. Many kids are now officially out for school, trying to spend some time outdoors as we go into the weekend ahead, that first official week of summer. So many people are going to be outdoors. The forecast is going to be very, very important. Let's break down absolutely everything you need to know for it. So taking a look at your 24-hour rainfall totals. We did have a little bit of rain yesterday. And once again, like we were saying, all in the days leading up to yesterday afternoon, west and northwest Georgia, or central Georgia rather, I should say, that's where the rain was going to be the most likely, and that's what we did see come to fruition. Almost all of central Georgia was just nice and dry throughout yesterday afternoon, even into the evening. But I do want to zoom in on some of these patchy areas of some blue where you are going to see no one really even recorded a total that got above an inch in nature, but some of these areas did get close to around the inch mark down here on the southern end of Talbot County, just to the west of Taylor County. 2.2 inches of rain, and I imagine this little patch right here over in Meriwether County, just to the north of Manchester, that very, very slim flash of yellow, probably closer to somewhere around 2 to 3 inches of rain. But for the most part, you simply just saw a very light shower, or just maybe a steady shower that didn't even total more than just about a trace of rain. The areas that did receive some rain, this very, very top corner of Jones County, Jasper County, Monroe County, Lamar, Upson, getting into Taylor County, and then the westernmost edge of Crawford County. All you guys did get a little bit of rain. But I do want to take it all the way up I-75 for just a moment. You are going to notice this is the metro Atlanta area, and this is right smack dab in the middle of downtown, where I-75 and I-85 do go through downtown. Right over here to the west, William Street Northwest. This is kind of getting into the area where Georgia Tech's campus is. So we have that curve in I-75 as you're passing maybe say areas like Grady Memorial Hospital, and then you start to get over into the Virginia Highlands and the Midtown areas over here. 3.7 inches of rain fell, which obviously over the course of 24 hours, that's nothing too drastic. This fell over the course of about an hour. There was a thunderstorm that was pretty much stationary over the Atlanta area as of yesterday, and we'll talk about what implications that did have, because we could very well be looking at that possibility in a select few spots in central Georgia as we go into the weekend. But it is Thursday. We have a new update of your drought monitor, and in fact, we did see a little bit more improvement. Some areas in northern central Georgia have now been downgraded to a moderate drought. Some patches of Jasper, Putnam, and western Hancock County. There's a little sliver of that tan color over in Taylor and into Crawford County. Some of these areas that had more substantial rainfall totals, really dating back over the course of about the last 2 weeks, because last week we didn't receive much in the way of rainfall, but we still see plenty of areas that are under the extreme drought, the exceptional drought, of course, down to the south and the southeast. A majority of central Georgia, I would say, is under something in the way of a severe drought, that orange shade. So Macon, Warner Robins, Milledgeville, Dublin, getting down to Cochran, Unadilla. So, of course, we do see plenty of areas, a good mix of all this drought criteria. We still need a lot more rain where all the rain has come from as of recently. This is the latest update as of this past Tuesday, so hopefully we are going to continue to receive some more rainfall that will help improve these conditions, but I think we are going to see something very similar to what we did see on this latest update over the course of the next few weeks. There are going to be some patchy areas that receive more rainfall than others, and that is going to result in some isolated areas of improvement, like what we see across Jasper, Putnam, and Hancock, and back over into Taylor and into Crawford counties. So here's a look at your May 2026 rainfall. So we haven't really had much rain over the course of the last week. We did have some back on the 17th, which was this past Sunday, only about 3/100ths of an inch of rain. Some areas had some far greater totals than that number, but at Middle Georgia Regional Airport, that was just not the case. So it has been a bit of a dry stretch after we did have a pretty wet stretch right here, going from the 6th all the way through the 9th of May, where we had 3 out of 4 days recording some rainfall. And those days, especially one of them, the 7th, we had 2 and over 1/4 of an inch of rain. And that is probably the biggest addition that we did have to the total this month, which does sit at just over 3.4 inches of rainfall. Once again, still above average for what we typically see in the month of May. Nowhere close to that record, but we have seen a steady decline in this line graph right here, where the plots are continuing to creep down out of the very wet category. Now just simply in the wet category, but hey, we are going to finish the month of May in one of these blue boxes before it's all said and done. So we are very thankful for that. But let's see if we can continue to add on to some of those rainfall totals at Middle Georgia Regional Airport and all across Central Georgia. The main headline is your rain chances. They are going to be hit or miss. So like I was just talking about with that drought monitor update, I think areas of improvement are going to be the areas that do find some of those hit periods of rain. It's not going to be the areas that miss out on rain a majority of the next couple of days. Showers and some storms are going to be possible, but the other side of it is going to be really warm, maybe even borderline hot when you are dry each and every afternoon, which you do have a good likelihood of doing each and every day. So here's a look around the quad. You are going to see upper level cloud cover, and now starting to see a couple of cumulus clouds beginning to bubble up. That's already beginning to operate off the heat of the day. Eventually, those cumulus clouds will begin to be more and more widespread, and some of them are going to hold just about as much moisture as they can, and that's going to contribute to that rain beginning to fall in some isolated pockets, but it's not looking to be widespread rain as we go throughout the rest of today. But all this cloud cover that we do see, it's in the upper levels of the atmosphere, not doing a very good job of blocking your sunshine. And then we take it down here to the Georgia National Fairgrounds. Number one, you're noticing the flags blowing a little bit from left to right, indicating a southerly component to your wind. So that is going to continue to help usher in more and more moisture and kind of just lead to a little bit of humidity that we are going to have to work with over the course of the next couple of days. But number two, this is also going to be a sky cam we keep a close eye on as we go later on into the afternoon. 4 o'clock and 7:30, the first two Houston County graduations are going to be later this afternoon into the evening. I believe Veterans is at 4 o'clock, and then Perry High School going to be at 7:30. Then you'll have Houston County, Warner Robins, and Northside that will all have their graduation down at the Georgia National Fairgrounds as of tomorrow. So let's talk some temperatures. 84 already in Macon. We continue to just see very, very warm numbers here before we even get to lunchtime, but the warm up throughout the morning time frame has been very drastic, and we are looking at it to steady and kind of gradually plateau out throughout the rest of the afternoon. Still cooler air that is going to be present behind the stalled frontal boundary that we have all across the eastern United States. More so a story of 50s and 60s on the north side of that boundary. And then as you go down to the south, it's a story of some 70s and some 80s. 84 in Macon matches the number in Charleston and in Jacksonville. And then 86 going to be the warmest number all the way down in Orlando. Some 82s up in Charlotte and Virginia Beach. And then a 66 because Washington, D.C. finds themselves on the northern side of that boundary, where if you go down I-95 down to Virginia Beach, it is significantly warmer than it is in the D.C. area over on the very southeastern coast of Virginia. Here's a look down in the southeast, some 70s back over to the west, and that is mainly because there is some cloud cover that is limiting the warm up into areas like Alabama and getting over into northern Mississippi. Starkville sitting at 72 degrees, 73 in Meridian, and then you go down to the south and the southeast, the farther away from where the stalled boundary is, which you'll get a good picture of in just a moment. Some low and some mid 80s and plenty of widespread orange color here in central Georgia. The top temperature mark going to be 85 degrees. I think that's what I spot in Sandersville and down into Warner Robins. Everyone is above the 80-degree mark, maybe at 80 degrees flat like Taylor County over at Butler, but low and mid 80s is the temperature story right here, right around the midday hour. So it's off to a very warm start, and we haven't even talked about the humidity yet and what that's making the numbers feel like. Winds and wind gusts, a very light breeze like we saw at the Georgia National Fairgrounds, but pulling in that southerly direction of the winds. They are going to continue to maintain that southerly direction, not only through just today, but over the next couple of days. And that's what's going to continue to contribute to a steady stream of moisture and these areas of more and more widespread dark green that we are seeing all across the Gulf Coast. So back into Alabama, that's where the most widespread humid air is going to be. It's pretty patchy across the state of Georgia and even here in central Georgia. We do have a couple areas that are still holding on to dew point temperatures in the upper 60s, but for the most part, you're holding on to dew point temperatures in the lower 70s, and some patchy dark green areas are going to be present. So that's where your feels like temperatures are already starting to flirt with 90, or it even feels like the 90-degree mark already. 91 is the feels like number in Sandersville, feels like 90 in Warner Robins, 90 in Forsyth. How about a 93 in Unadilla, 92 all the way over into Butler. Everyone else feeling a little bit warmer than what the actual temperature sits at. And very thankfully, the humidity is not higher than the levels it's already at. If we had dew point temperatures, say, close to 80 degrees, well, that would make the feels like temperatures, I imagine, start to flirt with the 100-degree mark. We're not quite into that territory just yet, but it is really warm already this afternoon, maybe even borderline hot by some of your standards. But now we have been feeling some of these slightly above average temperatures for a couple of days. Hopefully you're starting to get more and more used to these warmer temperatures as we settle into the back half of May. Here's a look at your satellite imagery. A look from above shows the widespread nature of the cloud cover, but most of it is very, very thin as of right now. That is present over central Georgia. Once you go back over to the west, that's where denser cloud cover will lie. Again, kind of those brighter white shades that you do see. And within some of this cloud cover, some isolated light showers or some sprinkles like what you see in northern Spalding County, just to the north of Griffin, back over into East Alabama along the I-85 corridor. Even another shower up there near the metro Atlanta area, which I'm sure they do not want anything more in the way of rain after what they experienced yesterday. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that in just a moment. So scattered showers already bubbling up over into northwest Alabama, getting down into south and southeastern Mississippi, even a flash flood warning down there north of Hattiesburg right now, where some of the rain is kind of just sitting over the same area. That is going to be a possibility all throughout the southeast as we go into this weekend, which you will see highlighted on our excessive rainfall outlook. 91 degrees for a high temperature yesterday, so we finally did make the return back above that 90-degree mark after 2 days that we topped out just above your average of 87 degrees. But once again, 91 is just a couple degrees above that average high temperature of 87, and your morning low yesterday, how about 65 as you walked out the door, making the return back above that average low temperature of 61 degrees. No rainfall recorded. Here's where your year departure of rain does sit. We're hovering just around 4.5 inches, still below where we should be at this point of the year. But all it's going to take is just one thunderstorm that we could see over the course of this weekend, and that could help put another dent in this number. I don't think it's going to maybe make the negative flip into a positive and put us back above average for this time of year, but it is going to continue to make that number creep back closer and closer to zero and farther up into the negative category. So May temperatures. It has been a story recently over the last 5 days of above average numbers. And again, yesterday marked the second time in the last 4 days that we have hit the 90-degree mark, but the third time so far in 2026 that we have hit the 90s. And that 91-degree mark has been the temperature that has been the warmest so far throughout the calendar year. Going back to April 17th, we hit 91 for the first time in 2026. And then 1 month later, May 17th, we hit the 91-degree mark this past Sunday, and then we hit 91 as of Wednesday afternoon. So what are we going to do throughout the rest of today? Well, I am forecasting a pretty similar warm-up, but take a look at your meteogram. It's actually doing something a little bit different than what it typically does. We continue that steady warm-up, but once again, once we get into around lunchtime, we're not quite seeing as drastic of a warm-up throughout the rest of the afternoon. We're kind of seeing the plateauing out of this line graph, peaking at around 89 degrees, but then 88 drops down to 80 degrees around 4 and 5 o'clock before bouncing back up into the mid-80s. This is picking up on a shower actually in the Macon area as we go into the afternoon. Now, is that going to come to fruition? We'll have to wait and see. The rain chances are going to be completely random throughout central Georgia today, but I do want to emphasize the fact that everyone has the possibility of a pop-up shower or even a storm in a select few spots all the way through this afternoon and evening. These pop-up rain chances are not just going to be for west central Georgia, northwest central Georgia like we were talking about as of yesterday. This possibility is now going to exist for all of central Georgia as a little bit more moisture slides over to the east and that frontal boundary has stalled in the near vicinity of us. So feels like summer, but once again, pop-up nature of this rain means that there are going to be areas that do not see rain throughout this afternoon and evening. What you'll be treated to is just simply a partly cloudy and a summer-like afternoon. 91 for a high temperature. Once again, and all the high temperatures I do have in the forecast, they're not going to be reflective of areas that do catch some rain. If you catch some rain, you obviously saw what happens on that meteogram. you get some rain-cooled air, cloud cover, and even just something in the way of a steady shower and something in the way of a thunderstorm. A heavier downpour would knock the numbers down even more than this. But obviously, that's right around the time where we would normally hit our high temperature, 4 and 5 o'clock. So if you do catch something in the way of rain, you're obviously not going to reach the high temperature I forecast each and every day. But if you do stay dry, you do see plenty of sunshine through that 4 and 5 o'clock window, then that's what you have the potential to warm up to, somewhere just above average and pretty close to that 90-degree mark. So graduation forecast, we're getting ready to start some of the ceremonies, at least up here in Bibb County. We have the last day of Bibb County graduations at the Coliseum. So around the 1 o'clock hour, I still think it's mainly going to be a story of partly cloudy skies. We might try to see a shower begin to bubble up as early as the 1 p.m. hour, but I think it will be mostly dry. But just because it's not raining outside doesn't mean that you shouldn't walk inside with maybe having the umbrella in the purse or maybe having the rain jacket ready to go, because you are going to have to walk back outside. And by the time graduations are beginning to wrap up, that do start around 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The farther into the afternoon that you go, that's when the rain chances get better, but still just going to be present in a few isolated areas. Temperatures are going to warm up near the 90-degree mark if you are staying dry. And then I think anything in the way of rain as we progress into around 7 p.m. is simply just going to be showers. I don't have much confidence in some thunderstorms, but we might hear a few rumbles of thunder. I just think that as we kind of transition into that evening time frame closer to sunset, we are starting to lose a lot of fuel to the fire, which is going to be that direct sunlight. The sun angle is going to get a little bit lower. Maybe some trees are starting to block some of the sunshine. So it is going to be a little bit cooler already beginning at 7 p.m. Hence the temperature around 85 degrees, which is still pretty warm, but not necessarily going to be as conducive of an environment as 90 degrees and plenty of humidity would be with some sunshine directly overhead. But just because we don't necessarily hit the 90s today doesn't mean we're not going to feel like them. Again, this heat index graphic, it is starting to pick up on that rain popping up around 4 and 5 o'clock. So I imagine this is going along with what Future View has to say, which we'll take a peek at in just a moment. But temperatures, or feels like numbers rather, I should say, these heat indices, when you factor in the humidity, it's going to feel like the low, maybe even as high as the mid-90s as we go into this afternoon. That checks out because we already have some areas that are feeling like the 90s here at 11 a.m. Surface map. Here's that stalled boundary I was referring to. Still has a little bit of motion on the easternmost side of the boundary as you see it kind of creating some widespread rain all along where the boundary does currently sit. But it's also going to be areas down to the south because we are still holding on to that warm and humid air on the southern side of this boundary. It is a lot of a drier environment back behind it, but obviously not necessarily completely dry. You can still see some pretty widespread showers up to the north of that boundary, back up into Oklahoma and into southern Kansas. But down here, we are going to be locked in this sector of some warm and humid air for the foreseeable future. We are actually looking at this part of the boundary that's stationary over here into Texas. It should retreat back up to the north and kind of sag back up to the north and allow for more and more moisture to continue to flow in off the Gulf Coast. And that's what we continue to see with these winds. They are just flowing straight up from the south and the southeast and ushering in some of that Florida Peninsula moisture and some of that Atlantic moisture as of right now. But if we get a southwesterly component to the winds, then that's going to usher in that Gulf moisture, and that's going to be a lot more humid than what we see over in the Atlantic. So here is a couple hours into the future, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Scattered showers, a couple of thunderstorms, but isolated in nature. There are more areas that are going to remain dry as opposed to receiving rain throughout your Thursday afternoon and evening, but you are going to have the chance everywhere, and these rain chances are going to pop up at random. No rhyme or reason to where the rain chances really do pop up, so that's why you need to prepare for seeing something in the way of a shower. If you don't get use out of your rain jacket or umbrella, fear not, you have a couple more rain chances that are going to be even better in coverage and a better likelihood of catching some rain each and every afternoon from here on out. So as we go into the nighttime hours, we could hold on to a couple of showers as we go into that evening time frame, or I guess post-sunset time frame, but it's going to be simply just some light rain. That is not going to be really anything that is going to be too intense. And the farther into the overnight hours that you go, that rain continues to fizzle out more and more before finally we walk out the door to hopefully some mostly clear skies throughout your Friday morning. This is 7 a.m., pretty similar environment to what we had as of this morning. And then we go into Friday afternoon. It does appear that maybe rain chances are holding off for a little bit. I mean, obviously, all around us, we see scattered showers. We see anything in the way of some pop-up storms. They are beginning to bubble up as early as the Friday afternoon hours, but the rain chances here in central Georgia, they might look to hold off a little bit longer, maybe into later in the afternoon, which I'm sure this doesn't necessarily correlate the best with any afternoon plans, but it may give you a couple more hours just right there around lunchtime that you are going to remain dry in the forecast. And then once again, just like clockwork, we start to get those warmer temperatures. You get more sunshine in the picture that continues to heat the surface. And 5 o'clock, widespread showers and storms that are going to bubble up into the picture. But again, not a guarantee that you see rain throughout your Friday. This does look like pretty good coverage, but notice as I have these pause points, this is at 8 p.m. right here, there's areas of central Georgia that are nice and dry. They've already received their rain. So what I want to emphasize about this rain, it will pop up each and every afternoon. You are going to have the chance of seeing some rain, but there are going to also be plenty of dry moments to get those outdoor plans in. You just need to be on guard for something in the way of maybe some of these darker red shades that could pop up, which can indicate something in the way of a thunderstorm, maybe even in the nature of a stronger to possibly even severe thunderstorm. That is going to be in the cards each and every afternoon. It's the summertime. I know you know the drill. It's just been a while since we've had to talk about a forecast kind of like this. Continuing to hold on to rain into the nighttime hours, but I do see this rain getting less and less intense, and eventually it is going to move out of the picture by the time we go into Saturday morning. Saturday afternoon, that morning cloud cover begins to clear, and stop me if you've heard this before. Scattered showers and a couple of thunderstorms begin to bubble up into the picture, operating off the heat of the day, continuing to be scattered, maybe isolated, maybe even widespread at points throughout the afternoon into the evening. And that takes us all the way into your Saturday night where, once again, there's not going to be really any rhyme or reason, really any direction or any set out, I guess, purpose of these thunderstorms. They're not going to have that general kind of northwest to southeast motion that we see ahead of a frontal boundary. They're just going to pop up, and they are going to operate off all of those areas that are unstable in the atmosphere, all those very warm and those very humid areas. So if you do catch a shower or even something in the way of a storm that pops up early in the afternoon, your likelihood of seeing rain for the rest of the day goes down substantially. It's using up all that instability that is present over the current area, and unless you get peaks of sunshine throughout the tail end of the afternoon, that atmosphere is going to really struggle to recover and become unstable once again. So here's a look at your future view rainfall graphic, and don't really pay attention to the totals that we do see throughout the rest of today. Just know that some isolated pockets, those areas that do catch a thunderstorm, they'll have some higher totals than the rest of the bunch, but most areas, they're not really seeing anything in the way of rain. So more areas are going to remain dry throughout your Thursday afternoon and evening as opposed to receiving something in the way of rainfall. But the coverage does go up as we go into Friday and as we go into Saturday afternoon. So what you need to be prepared for, kind of about a 50-50 shot is what I'm trying to emphasize with the rain chances for Friday and into Saturday. And those areas that do catch a couple of thunderstorms or maybe consecutive days of rainfall, that is going to result in some higher totals, maybe closer up to around 2 to 3 inches of rain, which is a lot. You saw Atlanta, they had a lot of rain as of yesterday, around that maybe 3, even 4 inch mark, but that was over the course of about an hour or two. If we get this over the course of 3 days, that is going to be just what the doctor ordered. You just don't want it all at one time. That's what can create some flash flooding risk. So for the next 3 days, your afternoon high temperatures, once again, this is going to be reflective of the areas that don't catch some rain. So if you do remain nice and sunny each and every afternoon, it's going to be some great pool weather. Get outside, make sure you're staying hydrated, wear some sunscreen, but you are going to have a better chance at rain Friday afternoon and evening and Saturday afternoon and evening, as opposed to what we do see throughout your Thursday, still in the form of those scattered showers and some thunderstorms. But I did want to emphasize a couple key messages here on the main takeaways. Rain chances may be high. I know I'm going to find a lot of messages this weekend, and I'm going to find a lot of people that come up to me and say, hey, well, my weather app said rain chances are 70, 80, 90%. They may look high, but this does not mean that the day is going to be a complete washout. This just means that the coverage of these showers and storms is going to be high all across the area. So, of course, do not go buying what your weather app does say just because it has a 70% chance of rain. Doesn't mean that it is going to rain. Could it rain over your afternoon plans? Yes, absolutely it could, but it's not going to be an all-day washout. You might have a period of an hour or two or maybe even a little bit longer that is going to be nice and dreary or even stormy, but you are going to eventually clear out, and the earlier the better. That's when the dry periods are definitely going to be in place each and every day. This is normal for the summer. I really want to emphasize this. You're going to hear us talk about afternoon and evening shower and storm chances for quite a while over the next couple of months. Continue to keep those afternoon outdoor plans in place. Just be prepared for a possible rain or a possible lightning delay each and every day. So when thunder roars, of course, go indoors. Be on the lookout in the skies. If you see some dark clouds that look pretty widespread off in the distance, you start to hear those rumbles of thunder way off in the distance, that's your sign to go ahead and head inside. But make sure that you are continuing to have fun and soak up those dry periods that you do have each and every day. We are going to have some isolated strong and severe storms that could pop up each and every day. Is the likelihood going to be that great? No. And what I mean by isolated is maybe one or two that could pop up in a select few spots. It's not going to be a widespread strong or severe thunderstorm by any means, but a few storms could have some gusty winds, even the possibility of hail. That's always going to be present with the summertime convective pop-up shower or thunderstorm, and then frequent lightning, and along with that going to be your heavy downpours, which we do have an excessive rainfall outlook for, meaning isolated flash flooding can happen in those areas that get too much rain in a short period of time, kind of like what we did see in Atlanta yesterday. Remember some of those totals I was showing you, and I said we would circle back to it? This is what it did on the I-75 and I-85 corridor in downtown. This is right over here by Grady Memorial Hospital, starting to get over into areas just to the south of kind of Georgia Tech's campus. This is going to be the Baker Street exit, I do believe is what it was. And you can see that this car completely stranded in the floodwaters and all the traffic backed up over here, but not just on this side of I-75. This is on the north side or northbound side of I-75 and I-85. There also are puddles that are beginning to form over here on the south side. So that's giving you an implication of what too much rain at one time can lead to. That will be possible in a select few areas, but also that was due to the combination of a lot of debris. You know, all that roadside debris that you do see when driving through downtown Atlanta or on the interstate in general. A lot of that debris was blocking many of the drainage systems, so that's why it did contribute to kind of a recipe or for disaster. Just all those ingredients came together, and that's what's resulted in some very quick flooding. In fact, the water rose about 4 feet, I heard, over about a span of 10 minutes. So hopefully we're not talking about that too much whatsoever over the next couple of days. But we are going to continue to have humidity in the forecast each and every day. So pop-up shower and some thunderstorm chances will be present not only through the next 3 days, but even going through the rest of your weekend and into the beginning of next week. Also, in combination with that, we have some pretty heavy traffic between the graduations, between people heading out of town, or maybe coming into town for Memorial Day weekend. Expect those roads to be pretty crowded throughout Thursday and Friday, mainly the second half of both days before the traffic goes down just a little bit into Saturday. Sunday going to be the best of the bunch, but then expect some increased traffic once again as you go into Memorial Day itself and going into next Tuesday. As far as your grill cast goes, this goes for all your outdoor plans. Yellow spatulas, have some caution. Make sure you're taking a look at the radar before heading out to the grill and starting to heat up and turn on the propane tank. You are going to want to make sure you're just playing everything by ear over the course of this weekend. Otherwise, the other side of it is we are going to have some above average or near average warmth as we go each day throughout the weekend and into Memorial Day on Monday. So that's what's going to happen when you are going to have those dry periods, and each and every morning is going to be an absolute treat. Perfect. Sit out on the porch and enjoy your coffee weather. Not going to have a chill whatsoever, and it is going to be a dry environment as well. Wanted to show you the long-range models very, very quickly to show you that, once again, all of these rain chances just popping up off the heat of the day each and every afternoon. As we go into the nighttime hours, we do get that dry period for the first half of each and every day. Going into the second half, not necessarily the same story, but this continues all the way into next Wednesday, maybe even possibly as far out as next Thursday. That's as far as the long-range models do go out as of right now. So we are going to see the 40% chance of a pop-up shower or a storm continuing each and every afternoon. And again, I think those evening hours, that's going to be when the rain chances have the potential to be a bit more widespread, just with some thunderstorm clusters that are popping up in isolated areas, maybe pretty nearby one another. They are going to try to merge together to maybe have some more widespread impacts. But right now, I think Friday and Saturday, that's where we do have the best idea of those rain chances being more widespread. And again, not going to be an all afternoon and evening washout. Play it by ear, continue to keep those outdoor plans, and make sure that you are going to have a contingency plan to move indoors for anything that is planned outdoors each and every day. And I do imagine that we'll probably give these rain chances a bit of an uptick. But I did want to emphasize the fact that my rain chances are lower than what you're going to see a lot of places, just to emphasize the fact that there are going to be dry periods and there are going to be pleasant times throughout each and every day. So I think it's about a 50-50 shot in terms of what you are going to see in terms of at any point in any given afternoon in the form of some rain chances. Keep the umbrella and the rain jacket handy. We'll continue to keep you updated if anything does pop up that you need to know about. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you once again at 11 a.m. tomorrow.